Hello, everybody. I think we're live, but not live where we're supposed to be live. Sorry about that. Just let me check whether I can see us. Oh. Yes, we are live. We are live, and I hope everybody can join us now because we're not there where I planned the session. I'm very sorry about this. I can't handle the new Facebook Live thingy. It doesn't work with me. So hopefully you will find us, but I'm quite sure it will work out. Somebody found us already. Very good. I wait for things. Yeah, there they are. Okay, great. You all found us. So hi, anybody who doesn't know me, I'm Kirsten from the German Tarot Association. And today it's my great pleasure to talk to the American artist, Emi Brady. Hi, Emi.
Guten Abend.
Guten Abend. Dankeschön.
That's about the extent of my German.
Well, then let's stick to English.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a great pleasure to have you. You have done excellent work for the tarot community and you deserve to be interviewed about it.
Thank you.
Anybody who doesn't know Emi, she has created the Brady deck, which is a very, very lovely deck. I'm going to show a few pics later. And Emi also has ordered her deck so she can demonstrate with her own cards. And if you have any questions you want to ask, please put them in the comments and we will surely get around to asking them. Your deck came out about 2 years ago, right?
Correct.
And it was done by Kickstarter?
Yes, I funded it. I funded both the first and the second editions through Kickstarter. So it was all crowdfunded and self-published.
And did this work out well, the Kickstarting thing? Do people respond to this?
Yeah, I think it went very well. And I have really enjoyed getting to know the Kickstarter community through making the first and second edition.
And already a second edition after 2 years is really good, I have to say.
Thank you. Yeah, the first edition I did, I think about 3,000 copies, and I sold out in just under a year.
Wow, that's really good, I have to say.
Thank you.
But it's really something one should get. Before we look at the deck, perhaps you can tell us a bit about your tarot background. So you are an artist, but I guess it's not your main area of artistic work. Have you been studying tarot for a long time?
Yeah, so I first saw tarot cards when I was probably about 12 or 13 years old, when I was an angry teenager living in the American South. And, you know, it was a very religious place, like a religious area that I grew up. And so the tarot was something that was forbidden.
Really?
Yes. I mean, my family kind of didn't care, but in general, the dominant culture down there was that it was forbidden.
Because it's the devil's book, or why? Okay.
Yeah. You know, I think the Bible says something about fortune telling not being kosher. So I think it's something like that. But, you know, that, of course, made me more interested in it. As you know, the forbidden things often make you just more attracted to them.
Exactly.
Yeah. So more than anything, I was interested in the images, but I didn't really start my practice of using the tarot as a method of divination until I was in college, like in my 20s. And my roommate actually was the one who had the Haindl deck. And so she taught me a lot about reading tarot and about that deck in particular. And someone ended up buying me a copy of it later, and that's kind of where it started for me.
So sorry, to all the Germans who don't understand which deck Emi meant, she means the Haindl deck. Emi learned with the Haindl deck. So you have not really a connection to weight?
I created a stronger connection with it by making this deck.
Mm-hmm.
But before, I mean, I was familiar with it. Pardon me. I was familiar with it, but I hadn't done a lot of work with it. I didn't really connect as deeply to it as I did with the Haindl deck.
But it's quite a difficult deck for a starter. It's not very accessible, is it?
Which, the Haindl?
The Haindl deck, because the weight, there's these medieval images everybody can relate to, but if I go through the Haindl deck, it's always quite darkish, and it's perhaps I would say for a starter it can be quite taxing to use this deck, but obviously you as an artist didn't have a problem with this.
Well, I mean, it took me a while to feel confident.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it took a lot of study. I liked that it had the I Ching, which was something that I was using before actually I started reading the tarot. Was the
Is the I Ching?
Mm-hmm.
You know the I Ching as well?
Mm-hmm. I know it before I knew the tarot, actually.
Wow. So you tried to do everything in order not to go with the religious dogma.
Basically, yes. And, you know, having been raised in, like I said, a very religious part of the country, it really turned me off from the dogmatic aspects of it. And I never really felt a connection to Christian iconography. I didn't. The only thing I liked about it was the occasional animal that would show up.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I can understand this. Do you now work only as an artist, or do you also do consultations with your deck or with other cards or anything? Do you
yeah, I do readings with my own deck.
Okay, interesting. I lost a bit track here because I was reading what people are writing, but it's not something we need to put into the talk right now. So you're doing tarot readings. You are you understand. I understand now where you're coming from with your deck. Also, when I look at the deck, I can understand it better. I think when I know that you have a Haindl background. And I think before we go on, I should show some of the pics so people can understand what I'm talking about here. Just hold on. I need to. I need to bring this here. There we go. So anybody out there who wants to look at the deck and pictures of it goes to Emi's homepage, which is emibrady.com. And there you have the Brady Tarot with a lovely owl on the top. And as you can see, it's a bit difficult to see. Perhaps I make it a bit bigger. These are all very lovely cards. Which technique did you use to create these cards?
I use relief printing, specifically lino cuts.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was just a single color lino cut that I then hand colored with gouache. Wow.
Because I saw this deck once. I don't own it myself, but Christopher, a friend of mine, has it. And when you touch these cards, they are very, very nice to the touch, to the feel. It's quite thick. And also they come in a really lovely box. I really like this a lot. Is the second edition just the same as the first edition?
No, actually there are a few changes. In terms of the images, it's exactly the same. I didn't change any of the images, but the cards don't have that white border around them in the second edition.
Okay.
So it's just black to the edges. And the first edition came in a wooden box, and the second edition comes in a smaller, more portable chipboard box, so like a cardboard box. But it's good quality, and it has that like soft touch to it, the same way that the cards do. And you know, actually, I can grab the box and show it to you guys if you want to see it.
Yes, please do that.
It's just right around the corner.
Just do, and I scroll down. As you can see, these images are very impressive. I really like the colors of these images and the way the headings are put into the picture. I think we should talk a bit about some of these pictures later, but first, let us show this box. This box.
So the box comes like this with this belly band that comes off, and the belly band is what has, you know, the barcode and just information about the deck. And then you take that off, and then it's this black.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, can you see that? So
lovely.
it's black with a black on top, and then on the back, on the top, it says "A Journey Through the Wilderness of Spirit."
Cool.
And so it's a two-part box, so you take it off, right? And then you can see these are the 4 elements. This is water.
Yes.
Which are horns.
Yes.
And you can see there's a little drop of water going into the horn. Fire is feathers. Roots are pinnacles and earth. And then arrows are the equivalent of swords.
That's really lovely, I have to say.
Thank you. And on the bottom, you can see there's some lines here, and then some other shapes all the way around. They're different shapes. And those are the borders. And all the borders are different depending on the suit. So this is the red triangles are fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the blue waves are water.
Okay.
The white lines are air. And then the yellow ochre little hills are earth.
It's really, really lovely.
Thank you.
Yeah, people say also that that's really beautiful, and that Christopher says the lino cut makes it archaic to the touch. Mm-hmm. And Marion says that she finds a connection to the Vision Quest Tarot. Do you know this deck?
Which deck? I'm sorry.
The Vision Quest Tarot.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So is this an inspiration as well for you?
You know, I haven't really worked with that deck, but I know about it. I would say, other than the Haindl deck and the Waite Smith deck, I kind of just went with my instinct.
You said you say it's a North American deck regarding flora and fauna, right? Mm-hmm. But the images I saw, they're all, some of them are really like old archaic art. Is this all American art, or is there also other influences like Celtic or something?
It's I think in some of the major arcana there is a little bit of Western influence, because it was the first part of the deck that I made, and mm-hmm. I was still kind of getting a feel for the deck. But I tried, once I got to a certain point and I really could hear the voice of the deck, I tried only to take influence from Native American mythology.
Which you have studied?
I have, yeah. Okay. I've studied quite a bit. I feel a lot of resonance in the stories that the people share openly. Yeah.
Is Denver, Colorado an area where Native Americans still live? I'm not very good with America.
Oh yeah. Yes, I would say that the larger reservations, like the Navajo and the Hopi reservations, are a little bit southwest of here. But I mean, I know that there are a few different Native American people that live in Denver. I know a number of Lakota people that live here.
Okay. You also said that your inspiration was Haindl, of course, which I think one can see. But you also said you found inspiration in the work of Rachel Pollack.
Of course, yeah. She really taught me how to read the tarot. So I was very much influenced by her. And then the really wonderful thing is, after I made maybe 5 or 6 images, I emailed her. I didn't know her personally. I only knew her work, but I emailed her asking if she would be interested in writing the guidebook for me. And I just assumed I would never hear back from her. And she said yes. So
That's
the guidebook that comes with the deck, which also has that spot varnish. This is like the card backs.
Wow, yeah. I really like this.
This is also written by her, and you can see there's like smaller black and white illustrations on some of the pages.
It's crazy. It's really something to have a book by Rachel Pollack. Yeah, as you said, she also wrote the books for the Haindl work, not only for his deck, but also for his Kabbalah stuff. So it's really, yeah, it's great to have her. It's really something of value, I think.
Yes.
Totally cool. Yeah, perhaps I come back to the pictures, because we have seen now this owl quite a bit, and perhaps you can tell us something about this owl.
Well, the owl has always been an animal that I've really loved and admired. And it's shown up quite a bit in the work that I've done with this deck. I had a number of different dreams during the time that I was creating the deck with owls, but I had a really interesting experience right before I started the deck with an owl that I think really was the catalyst for me to begin the work. So it was, I'll tell you the story, and it's also what the Ace of Arrows is based on. Or I'm sorry,
what is based on? Sorry,
the Ace of Feathers.
This
image is about this story. So if you scroll down, it should be like as soon as you pass the major arcana, it's going to be like the first.
The Ace. Sorry, I understand the 8. Okay, Ace. I have to make this smaller now again. Hope this worked. Yeah, please continue with it. Tell the story. I try to fit.
Yeah, so it's like further down. You're going to hit then the.
That's the magician. Okay.
Yeah, so these are just larger images. There's the hermit, the owl that we were talking about.
Sorry, I misunderstood.
Oh, it's okay. But the Ace of Feathers. Here we go. There are the feathers. So the ace is going to be the first one after all of those.
This one here?
Yep, that one.
The fiery one.
So the story goes that it was the winter solstice of 2016. It was right after Trump got elected. I was actually trying to get into an ultrasound tech school. I was working in the hospital, and I had kind of given up on making art as a living. I decided that I was never going to make any money doing it, so I had to keep it as a hobby. So I had spent maybe a year and a half getting prerequisite classes done, like biology and anatomy and physiology, genetics, those kind of classes, chemistry. And I had applied to that. I had applied to that school, and I was waiting to hear back. And during that time, I did a reading actually with the Haindl deck, and it told me I was going to be really disappointed, I was going to be really broke, and then I was going to be making money making art. And I said, this is bullshit, and I put it away. And said, there's no way. And so, you know, on the winter solstice, this was after I lost my job at the hospital. So, and then I also heard that I had not gotten into that program. So all of that kind of came through in that reading. And I was starting to try to make rent by painting these small commission pieces for people. And as I was working on them, I kept thinking about making a tarot deck, which is something that I began thinking about as soon as I started my practice with the tarot, because as an artist, you know, you can't help but think, well, I could do this. That, you know, maybe I'll make the deck that I want. And this was so for about 13 years, I would think about it on and off, but this is the first time where I was in a point in my life where I had the space and the knowledge to do it. But then I would also think about all the reasons I couldn't do it. So then finally, winter solstice 2016, I kept thinking about it. Oh, I woke up that morning to the sound of 2 red-tailed hawks outside of my window. And red-tailed hawks are very special birds for me. And they show up in really important points in my life. And so I knew when I heard them, not just one, but 2 of them going back and forth, I knew that something was going to happen that day that I needed to pay attention to. So I went about my day as usual. I got up and I was working on those small art pieces and thinking about, oh, maybe I could do that deck. I guess I'm going to have to wait till next year to reapply to that program. And, you know, I need to figure something out. But then of course, I thought about all the reasons I shouldn't do it and can't do it and kind of put it out of my mind. And so the day after is my birthday. So my birthday is the first day that the light starts coming back, which I think is cool. And that evening on the solstice, my husband and I went out to eat for my birthday. And when we came back, and it was pitch dark, of course, because it's the darkest day, I was walking from my car to my front door. And it's a very short walk. We live right in the middle of Denver. And as I was walking, I felt something brush the top of my head. And I thought, what is that? You know, my husband was behind me. So I looked, and it was a great horned owl.
Wow.
And he can attest that actually happened. And I stood out in the snow and called back and forth with it. And then when it flew off, I went inside and said, fine, I'll make the deck. I heard you. And, you know, since that point, it was like all the doors were open. And it was very clear that this was the path I was meant to take.
And this card here, inspiration,
is the story of that. Yes.
Is this enlightening, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So is feathers for you air or fire?
Yeah, it's wands. It's fire. And the reason why I use feathers is because in a lot of Native cultures, feathers are used like kind of analogous to wands, I guess, in Western culture. At the very least, it's used to guide smoke in ceremony. Mm-hmm. So I see a link between feathers and fire. I think that it confuses people at first, but once you start reading with the deck, it makes more sense. So yeah, here's that ace of feathers underneath.
I'm just scrolling down so people can see a bit more of it. So the ones, do you have ones? I don't know even. So there it's quite.
Yeah, there you
now
go.
You can. Okay, sorry.
So you see the great horned owl, and then there's the red-tailed hawk, and they're dancing. They're flying around the lightning bolt.
I really like your style. It's very drawing you in when you look at it.
Thank you.
It's really, really well. Sweet is not the word. It's really amazing. What is this?
Those are Gila monsters. So they're so cool. They're such cool creatures.
Looks a little bit like a 66. Sorry.
Yeah, I could see that. So they're fighting.
Okay.
Gila monsters, they fight over mates, and it can get really rough, but they never harm each other. So Gila monsters are one of two venomous lizards in North America.
Uh-huh.
And when they fight, which they'll fight, and whoever pins one, then they like win that round, and they keep fighting until a winner is determined. And the beautiful thing about it is that they could envenomate each other when they're fighting. They could bite and inject venom, but they don't. So this is the equivalent of the Five of Wands.
Yeah,
so the idea
fair
is that it's like a rivalry, but it's a healthy rivalry where you're not taking cheap shots at each other. You know, it's all in good sport.
Yeah, it's very good. I'm just trying to find your wands. Then are they here as well? Oh,
The
this
wand?
is lovely as well. Your air cards basically.
Oh, it'll be next is horns or cups, and then after that is air.
Yeah,
so then you were asking about the feathers and if it's air or fire.
Exactly.
Yeah, so air then in this deck, the air suit is arrows, which I think is really a good like replacement of swords, because of course the arrows are weapons as well, and they're projectiles.
I really like the Three of Cups. Sorry.
Thank you. Those are snow geese.
Really sweet. So this is now, oh, it's still horns. Yeah, it's really lovely. I'm going to scroll down a bit further so we get to the arrows. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So that suit is a difficult one, as I'm sure everyone who reads with the tarot knows.
Yes.
So one thing I'll point out, if it's okay with you, is I don't shy away from the reality of nature. And I think for some people, it's very off-putting. I believe that when you're reading with a tarot deck, it needs to be honest with you. And part of that honesty is reality. And part of that reality is that, you know, animals eat each other, and, you know, humans can be really cruel sometimes. And you can't get a good answer from a tarot deck without it being honest with you.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And then you still have to trust it and not to say it's bullshit and put it away like you did.
I know. I've learned my lesson multiple times about that. You know, that's like always what happens.
So something more different than from other decks is that you're using Haindl's court cards, right? You're using mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, which is something Haindl, I'm not sure whether he introduced it. I think the Mother Peace deck has it as well, but he definitely works with this.
Yes.
Really beautiful art, I have to say.
I borrowed quite a bit from the Haindl deck.
And Marion would like to know whether you ever met Haindl in person, because he lived in America.
I didn't.
No.
But it's funny, Rachel said that her experience working with me with this tarot deck in many ways paralleled her experience working with Haindl. So I think there's some kind of connection there, but I never did meet him.
That's a very sad 10 of
It's not sad. Look at it. This is the 10 of Swords, right? It's a possum.
Uh-huh.
Do you know that possums, the way that they get out of problems is they pretend they're dead. They play possum.
So he puts the arrows just in front of his breast and kind of goes like, I'm dead.
Yep. So the 10 of Swords in this, or the 10 of Arrows in this deck, it's not about overkill. It's about like, okay, everyone's out to get you, but like, really? Maybe you should take a step back and reassess the situation. This card is supposed to make you laugh.
Yeah, okay. I can see it now. It looked brutal to me in the beginning.
It does. And that's what it's supposed to be like, oh, God. And then you look at it and you realize like, oh, the possum is just plain possum.
Which is a good thing to think about the Ten of Swords, isn't it? Because it's usually something in your head which is not which is lacking reality, basically. Yeah, interesting.
The finality. Oh, so dramatic.
No, it's really, really, really great art, and I can see that people out there are really impressed by your work.
Thank you.
Marion loves the story you have been telling about the deck, and Kirsty mentioned that Margrethe Petersen, I don't know whether you know her deck, also uses father, mother, son. She's also a German artist who did work on her own tarot deck about 10 years. So I put you back on that people can see you better. How long did you work for your deck, on your deck?
16 months.
15 months. 15 or 16, sorry.
16.
16. That is, I think, pretty quick, I have to say, for the in-depth of your cards.
That's the way that I work. I'm either not working at all and working on other things like business stuff, or I'm doing nothing else but working on art. And you know, I just knew that I had to work until I was finished with it, and I just couldn't stop. I would basically my day would be waking up at about 3 in the afternoon. So like 15 hours, you know, about 15 hours. And then I would have my coffee, sit outside, you know, have a smoke, look out, you know, gaze into the backyard, and just kind of the images would start coming. And then I would start working, and I would usually work until about 5 or 6 a.m. So until the sun came up, and then I'd be like, oh, the sun's up. Maybe I should go to bed now.
And since you have finished this deck, do you think of yourself now as an artist more than before?
I think of myself as a professional artist more than before, definitely. I would say I've always been an artist. That's always been a pretty integral part of my life. So that didn't change in making the deck, but I became more of a grown-up artist making it.
And are you going to do another tarot deck, or is this the one and only Brady deck?
I would like to make another deck of cards, but I'm not sure that I will use the same structure as the tarot, which is a little scary because the structure of the tarot was very comforting for me to work in. You know, having a framework and knowing like, this is how many cards are in it. This is like, here are the themes of each suit, and, you know, here are the themes of the majors, and it made it very easy to do the work, I feel like. And I feel I'm about to start the work on a next big body of work, and I think I'm gonna just move with my intuition. That's really what I learned making this deck, is that I can trust the visions that I'm given, and they'll lead me where I need to go.
Yeah, it looks like it. I mean, we olds are messengers of the other world, I would say. But to have such a clear connection to them, I find this very unusual. It's really, really interesting. Gives me a bit of goose pimples.
Me too. Whenever I start talking about it, my whole left side is just goosebumps all up and down.
So how do people respond to this deck? Because I haven't seen or heard much about it in the tarot community.
Mostly positive. I think some people really hated the keywords. I put them in there again because I used the Haindl deck and I loved having them. I thought, you know, not just readings for myself, but I loved how when I would use the cards, the Haindl deck, to do readings for other people, they were like these doorways, having those words there where it would begin these conversations. And, you know, when I'm using my own deck, I do find that these words are, it does feel like a conversation.
Yeah, I love it when there are words on cards. So interesting. Okay.
And then I would say another criticism I get is with the borders, having like the images cut off, I guess, on the sides. Again, I really like having the borders because it shows which suit you're working with, and it helps when you're beginning with the deck just to kind of be able to translate if you're used to the White Smith deck. Yeah, and then also just it's helpful when you're looking at a spread, just saying like, oh my God, I have all fire here. There's a lot of fire happening.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and it's very clear when that happens.
No, I like this. Why should this be bothering people? I mean, if they're really bothered, they still can cut away the borders.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and some people have done that. Yeah, people are very picky. Yeah. And they like to tell you that. And that's okay. Like, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but you know, as an artist, I'm going to make my decisions based on what I'm being told to do.
Yeah, I mean, many tarot decks have frames. That's quite not very unusual. And the White deck, in a way, has frames as well because it's white. And
well, I think it's a movement within American decks to have no borders.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more, you see it more in America. One of the things that I have done with some of these cards is there are moments where the images actually do break into the borders.
Uh-huh.
Here, I'll show you a better example of that. The 10 of Roots is a really good example where it's like every side is broken in some way. Up here,
yeah, that's interesting as well. To break a frame is also a symbolism. There, yeah. Christopher, who is a Capricorn as well, says, I like frames very much.
Oh, good. Yay.
Must be a Capricorn thing then.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like about structure. Mm-hmm.
Funny.
It is funny.
Yeah, I'm just really impressed. As I said, I haven't had a closer look at your deck, but fairly enough, it didn't come across me. I read a lot of blogs in the tarot community, but I haven't read about yours. So I assumed it's not so much out there, but then you sold a lot of decks, so people must be aware.
People are using it. Yeah, people are definitely using the deck. I think maybe it's like some communities use it more than others. But I've gotten a lot of feedback. I mean, it's the majority of the feedback I get is very positive. And of course, as an artist, I'm listening to the negative feedback as well. And actually,
for your third edition.
What?
For your third edition.
I know, right? Actually, some of the changes that I made from the first to the second were in response to some of the criticisms I got, because I felt like some of them were right. So I listen to the feedback. I like getting feedback. Yeah, I like hearing people's just their experiences with working with the deck and what works and what doesn't for them. Yeah. I think it's really interesting, and just how different everyone is, you know.
Yeah, and if you can relate to this, then it's good to change it. But if you don't think it, you don't change it, basically. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have to say, I'm really tempted to buy this deck now. I really like it. For anybody out there who's interested in getting this deck, I've of course prepared something as well. So we have a Dutch retailer who has this deck here in Europe. It's €64.95, which is about the same price as in US dollars, but we would save the postage, which is from America around 30 quid, 30 euros. So I think you have to pay around 5 euros on top for the posting here. And I can put the information in the information of this live chat. And anybody who wants to get it, you can get it. That's the second edition, I guess.
Correct. Yeah, the first edition sold out in October last year.
Because also of the Kickstarter, or?
I mean, I think the Kickstarter definitely helped get the word out about that deck, but other things too. I think there are a lot of people who connect to the work and they share that with people. Most of the advertising, I guess, or the people that come and find out about the deck is word of mouth. I haven't done a lot of advertising for it.
Yeah, but it works well.
Yeah, yeah. I think the people who are meant to work with it, they come to it in some way.
And this approach of using animals and flora is of course something very much for the next generations, the generation Y and the generation X and whatever, bring the focus to nature and not so much to us human beings, which is something very interesting as well, I think.
I think humans need to get over themselves.
Yes. well, we're doing our best right now to
I know, right?
accomplish it.
I believe that the animals and the plants have a lot to teach us. And if we just shut up and listen, then their voices are numerous and they always want to reach out to us. Yeah. You know, animals are people too.
Yeah,
they are. And once you tune into that and you quiet and you listen, their stories are really important. And that's what I was trying to do with this deck is to listen.
Yeah, I think you made a great job with this, and I'm sure many people out there are inspired to look deeper into your art. Marion still wants to know whether there was any giveaways with your Kickstarting campaign. Did you sometimes you get giveaways when you...
Oh yes, so the first edition I did not, and then the second I wasn't going to, because I didn't realize actually that was expected. So that was my fault because I didn't do my research enough for the second one. I'd say like between those 2 years, so there was about 2 years in between those two Kickstarter campaigns, something shifted. And so there was like a different expectation. So in the end, I did add, let's see, I had a sticker, I had this bag that came with it for the cards. And these are the 4 elements. And then I also did little lino cuts that I included. And there were 12 different images that you could choose from. And they were all an edition of 66. And you could choose which one you wanted. So I think it was like a possum, a buffalo, an elk, a wolf, a raven, an owl, a bee, some other ones. There were 12 of them. There were a lot of them.
So you already have the starting point for your next oracle.
No, my next oracle deck will be much bigger than those prints.
I'm really curious about this. So you will obviously talk about this on your webpage, or where can we follow your work in progress?
There are two Instagram accounts you can follow. One is my personal account, which is Tiny Brown Bird, all one word. And then the other Instagram account is one that I'm working on right now, and it's called A Cult of Weavers.
A cult what?
A Cult of Weavers.
Oh, a cult of weavers.
Weavers, yeah.
Like weaving. I have this word. Weaving.
Weaving, yeah. Exactly.
Is this, sorry, then because you put the spider in the Wheel of Fortune, she's weaving, I guess.
Well, the weaving is, it feels like the work that I'm doing is some kind of weaving. I don't know how else to explain it. It's just something that within me, that's what it feels like. I'm weaving something into the fabric of now, I guess. And it feels like it's a thread that goes really, really far back and really, really far into the future too. I don't know how else to explain it. So the work I'm about to start is going to be looking at time in a non-linear way. So it's how these threads, these moments, they all fit into the past and the future. And so, for example, the first image that I got for this next body of work, it's an auric. Do you know what an auric is?
Yeah.
No. And it's standing in front of the sun, and in its shadow is a bull, a castrated bull. So the idea being that, you know, you see where the bull comes from and what has happened. Like it's, and the I Ching, the reading would be the darkening of the light.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about, you know, where we have gone as a species and what we have done, but then also what we can do.
Yeah. Margarete Peterson also said that she's weaving images with her tarot deck. Mm-hmm. She actually started her tarot deck when a spider was walking on her arm in Italy, and it inspired her to do her deck. So
I love that.
Similarities there.
Mm-hmm. We're all weaving together.
Yeah, exactly. What you're saying reminds me a bit of the film Arrival. Have you seen this?
I haven't, but I know of it. Yeah.
That's a bit like it. Also, this image you were describing. So yeah, interesting. I'm sure we all are looking forward very much to what you're doing, and we all have to follow now your Insta account, which I will also put into the comments, not in the comments, but in the description of this video.
So just to like preface, the Cult of Weavers, a Cult of Weavers, that's the name of my press.
Press?
So my press. So as a printmaker, you can like print other people's work on the press that you have. Mm-hmm. And so the collective of people who are working in the work that comes out of that press is like, that's known as the press. You know, like a printing company, basically. Yeah, okay. So a Cult of Weavers is my printing company. So I'll be posting everything that comes out of that press.
It's a company you own.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, interesting. Okay, so these two we need to follow. And I think some of the people out there are tempted now to buy your deck as well.
Well, I would encourage it. Part of the proceeds, there's a couple of nonprofits that I give to through this deck. One is called Earth Justice, and it's a nonprofit that gives money to lawyers to lobby for the environment and make changes in policy. And then the other one is the Indigenous Environmental Network, which is a really wonderful environmental nonprofit that's founded and run by Native Americans. And they protect land, they protect the land, and they are governed by the sacred law of the people. And I'm all about that, so I give to them. And there's another nonprofit here in Denver called the Lakota Healing Way, and that's a wonderful nonprofit that's run by this guy, Doug Goodfeather, and he helps. It's like helping people with PTSD and mental health issues and drug addiction and helping to like heal their minds, but also their spirits. And I think that's where we have to begin to become better, especially in America. There's a lot. I mean, I could go into politics and I'm not going to, but
well, who knows?
Yeah, I think that the spirit of America needs to be healed. I do. And that aligns with what I believe. And so I want to support those causes as much as possible.
There's not much left for you then if you support all these causes.
I mean, I'm living very comfortably. I'm very privileged. You know, I have plenty of space, and I'm able to have the space to make the work. And really, I do believe that you get what you give. And you know, I don't plan to have children, and so I'm hoping that my legacy will be to continue raising funds for these causes.
Wow, Emi, I'm impressed.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing this. You are a very open, honest person. I really like this, and I think you impressed a lot of people out there.
Oh,
very sweet.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for being with us. There are not any more questions. So if there are any more questions, just put them in the comments, and we can later ask Emi about this. But I think we have a good view of her deck now, and of the spirit behind the deck, which is much more important as well. And yeah, so I would say we finish for today. And you have your day to begin right now, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And I'm going to finish my day. So I wish you good luck for your projects. And I'm sure you don't need this wish, because it sounds like you're doing something very special, and all will sort out. Okay. So
well, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So anybody who's watching on Friday, I'm going to speak in German again with the head of the Astrology Association in Germany, Clemens Ludwig, and this is going to be very interesting as well. But this was one of my most inspiring talks I had.
Oh.
Thank you very much for this, Emi.
Well, danke schön.
Bitte sehr. So you know more than guten Abend.
Oh yeah, I also know danke schön.
Okay. Goodbye out there.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.